Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the podcast we bring you each and every day here on the Dynamo Podcast Network. We are live this morning from Irish Ferries Terminal 1. We are en route to Old Trafford. This is Manchester United versus Liverpool, the biggest game in world football. What is going to be the outcome today? Is it going to be jubilation? Are United going to finally get back on the road with a win? Or is this going to be the final nail in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's coffin today? Stick with me to find out through the day, guys. I'll be hitting you all up with plenty of notifications and plenty of videos, alright? Have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions show are available through Spotify, but why you would want audio versions of the show is beyond me and my partner, Darren. How we doing, Darren?
All right, brother Noel, what's happening, my man?
Good, not too bad at all. Said I'd get you on. You had a little journey or a little trip there over the weekend. A little
sabbatical.
Yeah, a little sabbatical with the family. Not the best result, but not always the most important thing on these trips. Walk us through from start to finish. Tell us, all began, I presume, at Dublin Port, as it does.
Well, even before we left the house, there was a little surprise for the little guy there in the background, you know. The older guy, Andrew, obviously knew we were heading away because he needed a passport ready and bits and bobs, you know what I mean? But the little guy, Brody, was actually supposed to go in March 2020, which was the month the pandemic arrived here in Ireland. Yeah. And we were supposed to go, his birthday's the 20th of March. We were supposed to go over to the game against Sheffield United on the 21st of March. And obviously everything got the kibosh and it got put in the back burner. And this was the kind of first opportunity we've had to get him over. So we didn't tell him just in case anything went wrong. And he's obviously been pied off already. So we said, we'll keep things under wraps until Sunday morning. He knew Daddy and Andrew were going. And I said to him, listen, I said, I'll come and say goodbye to you before we head off, you know? So he says, okay, Dad. So I woke him up Sunday morning. I said, listen, pal, we're off. I'll take it easy, okay? She says, okay, Dad. We'll see you later. You know, I says, all right. I says, little tear in the eye. What's wrong, pal? He says, I just think I'll miss you when you're gone, Dad. I says, would you like to come with us? Jesus, it was like someone's at the lighting the bed on fire. I can go with you. I says, even better. I says, Mammy's in there getting dressed. Mammy can come too. And I said, we'll big granny for the crack as well, right? And he says, Daddy, you're joking. I says, I'm not, kid. Come on, let's go. Get up. He says, really? I'm going to the game. I says, you're going to the game. So there was a lot of excitement in the house even before we got going, you know.
Jumped up out of the bed like the Ultimate Warriors music going, did he?
He started shaking the ropes and everything. He was like a man possessed. Got the gear on, jumped into the car. We'd everything packed away, obviously. Everyone ready to rock and roll. And then zipped down to the port. So, you know, not a hitch until we got onto the boat. And then you obviously spoke to me after I got off the boat. It was a slightly rough crossing, shall we say. When we got on the boat, you know, the captain came over the speaker and he says, gale force 8 winds on the seas as we went over. Now we were in the big boat, you know, we were in the Ulysses, the Irish Ferries. So it should have been a big issue, but it got thrown about there quite a bit, to be honest with you. Thankfully, the waves weren't very high. It was just a rockiness, you know. Yeah. But the 3 lads in the picture there behind you were a bit worse for the wear. We all ended up with sick bags, you know. The 2 women, not a bother on them, never budged off the chair. But myself and the 2 boys were sick as dogs. So it was rough. We ended up having to get a cabin and all just to try and get a sleep.
As you do.
To take your mind off the rockiness of it and all, you know. It was rough, but listen, we got through it, and then we kind of come off at Holyhead and we took a quick visit to that McDonald's. You know, the McDonald's just literally in Holyhead. Because I says we're gonna have to eat because anything we'd eaten that morning had already left us, type thing. Yeah. And with it being a long day and stuff like that, I said we better kind of fill up. So we knew we had time in hand ahead of the game and stuff like that. Kickoff wasn't until 4:30, and obviously we kind of landed in Holyhead about 11:30. So we plenty of time. Went in, hit the McDonald's, and then just got on the road, tipped up to Manchester. Think we got out of the car at about 2:00. So it was golden, you know. Now, the eldest lad, I've 2 season tickets in the Stretford end, but the eldest lad, he kind of forwent his ticket and gave it to the little guy so he could sit next to Daddy, and we had to box him off with a ticket over, a couple of rows over on the left, but everything was happy out. I got him scanned in first, and once he'd gone in, and he said, Dad, I'll send you a selfie when I'm in my seat, So I says, right, okay. So he sent me the selfie. I knew he was all right. I went in then with the little guy. Now at that stage, don't forget, we've already had a little visit into this megastore,
Yeah.
As you can tell.
Very nice.
I was in the megastore at the weekend. Jesus, man. The revenue on match days. Wow. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But the boys, they went and had a little bit of fun in the megastore, picked up a few bits and that, rinsed Daddy a little bit more than usual. But listen, when it's an aid of Man United, my heart and, you think, I don't know whether it was, if I buy more in this place, it might be a better game. It didn't work out to be.
You're in trouble walking into those megastores, don't you? When the guy on the door hands the kid a little basket, one of those little basket things, and you're going, he ain't gonna need that. He's in here for a diary, mate.
Yeah. I wish. No, the boys knew what they were after,
Yeah, absolutely.
And able to tell you, we can't get this in our size online, Dad. Oh, is that right, yeah? Pick it up quick.
Of course they couldn't.
Pick it up quick, will you? Get out of here.
They were saying that, I'd say, by about many rails, ready?
Oh, man. And, I've never seen that one before. And, of course, you're picking up a few bits and pieces and whatever. But we got in and then, everyone was happy with the seats. Obviously, my two seats are in the second row behind the goal, so they're pretty good. I think there's probably a picture of Brody you might see up beside the guardrail and stuff. And Andrew, he had a good seat as well, so everyone was happy out until kickoff, I suppose. The little fella was super excited to be there, and obviously he kept asking. He said, "Daddy, there's a lot of people out here." I says, "About 80,000 kids," and he was like, 80,000. I says, "Yeah." He says, "That's a lot of people." I says, "Yeah, that's right." Liverpool fans bringing serious atmosphere to the ground as well. The travelling fans, maybe about 3,500, 4,000, I think, if I'm right.
It's mad how loud they are, isn't it?
Yeah, they were very well. If I thought they were loud before, they were pretty loud after. I have to tell you.
Yeah.
Because obviously we went through the game, and you're kind of thinking, this is a rough night. It is a rough day at the office, because obviously it's the little guy's first game, and there was a lad sitting behind me from Cork, and he says to me, "Jesus," he says, "it's awful." He says, like, you're bringing the little lad like this, and he's to watch this shite, He says, "You'd almost think, am I doing the right thing by introducing him to this shower like this?" And I says, yeah, He says, "Next you'll be telling me," he says, "that it's his first game." I says, "Oh, it is his first game." He says, "Oh, stop," he says, "don't fucking tell me that." He says, 32 years I'm coming here. He says, "and I've never seen this before." He says, "This is the worst I've ever seen them." And he wasn't wrong, I have to tell you. I've been going to Old Trafford. I think I'm going a long time. My first game was about 97, 98. So I'm probably going 25 years nearly.
Would you put that as the worst game you were at?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was the worst one? What was the worst one you'd say before that?
I got me season tickets the year after Fergie left. Right. And we had a run of games when Moyes took over. So I was at the first game of the season. I think it was Chelsea we played. We beat Swansea away from home 4-0.
Yeah.
We played in the bank holiday Monday. Jose started Charlotte up front as a false nine for Chelsea. They didn't have a shot in the whole game. It was a 0-0 draw. It was horrific. And then we went say every 2 or 3 weeks, because obviously you've the idea of having them then, you're like, Jesus, I'll go every week, and you soon realise my wallet's not able for this, you know what I mean? But we went and we saw, I think Newcastle beat us that year. So we seen them get beaten to Newcastle, and then Everton beat them. I don't think Newcastle had beat them in 20-something years, But the guy that sat beside us, nice Asian lad called Mohammed, or Mo as we knew him. And he said to my eldest fella Andrew one day, he says, "We used to win games of football before you can, kids." And And the kid was full sure. He was, because he'd be 14 this year. He was 7 at the time, and he was saying, "Is it my fault we're losing?" I said, "No, it's not. Don't be minding him like this." I say, "Mo, shut up, you. Will you stop winding the kid up?" But we seen them lose some, take some heavy defeats that season under Moyes and be beaten by really, really poor teams. We seen them lose to FC Cluj in the groups, in the group stage of the Champions League.
That was horrific.
We lost 1-0. Now, thankfully, at that stage, it was a dead rubber. We were already through the group, but we've seen them lose to Cluj.
And they were so bad.
The boys are only now around that bleeding Halloween because they're mates at Dracula. That's Transylvania they're from. Like, this was hard work, Yeah. And again, I think that was his first Champions League game, and they lost that as well. And Mo has his hand in his mouth. He's like, "This kid," like this. But yes, so we didn't have a great start to life as season ticket holders, myself and Andrew. Yeah. But we had some great days, and I mean, we've had. I would have brought my dad over quite a bit to it as well. Now my dad's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
So obviously knows nothing about football, but would have just loved, the time we got to spend together.
Yeah, the match day experience with the family. Yeah.
The match day experience, just myself and my dad. I've actually had my mum in Old Trafford, would you believe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought my mum a couple of years ago with my dad and 2 of their friends that they've a drink with on a Sunday night. We went to United and Wolfsburg in the Champions League. I think we beat them 2-1. And I had the 5 of them, 4 of us, sorry, the 5 of us, me and 4 of them, went over on a day trip at Wharton a few years ago. But yeah, I used to love just getting to go with my dad. So I suppose Sunday was very, very special for me, although it was carnage on the pitch. That's the first time I've had my 2 little boys in Old Trafford with me. And obviously with Dad passing away in January and stuff like that, it was very, very, it was a very somber moment, Yeah,
you keep the legacy continuing.
Yeah, absolutely. And although he wasn't a United fan, he loved going to Old Trafford.
Yeah.
He thought it was just, he'd say, "Jesus, this place is amazing, And you'd love, like, we were there the day we beat City 4-2. Do you know what I mean? And good games of football. And we've seen them beat Chelsea, and we've seen them beat Liverpool. And now the game you're probably saying, what's the worst? The other one of the other worst games you've been at. I was there today. Gerrard missed the penalty for his hat-trick. Remember he's beat us 3-0?
Yeah.
And that was pretty bad as well, I have to be honest with you. That was fairly bad until Sunday,
Yeah. Tell us this going in. There was a lot of build-up to this game throughout the week. A lot of ex-players saying that this could be a really bad day at the office for United.
Yeah.
Some ex-players saying you would expect United to step up, that this was their opportunity to lay down a marker, maybe get back into the title race and kick on. What was the atmosphere kind of outside? Was it buzzing? Was it apprehensive? Was there a kind of an ear to it? Or what
I suppose there was a couple of little tinges there, There was certainly a tinge of excitement because on big match days like that, you can feel it and you can taste it, can't you? It's in the air. There's something special, and unless you've been to a game like that, you probably don't quite know what it feels like. But there's an air of expectancy around the ground, and there's a nervousness because obviously we're coming up against a serious football team, and there's the worry there that they can go and do a job on you, which they did in the end. But I think for United fans, I think there's a lot of resignation at the minute, and I know we're going to talk about that obviously when we talk about Ollie later on, but. There does seem to be a resignation that at the minute things aren't working, and until things change, we won't challenge. We won't challenge in any way, shape, or form. So that's obviously very tough for a club like United. Knowing that you're not going to go out there and maybe be able to be, challenging for titles or cups or trophies and stuff like that. And especially when you've got a squad like we've got. I mean, there's a lot of managers in that league would kill for a squad like United have. Like the embarrassment of riches they have in the top end of the pitch, the attacking end of the pitch is scary. I kind of looked at the other day and I thought, wow, look at what we have and look at how poor we've been. We've probably got 2 to 3 players in every position that you could call really, really good players. You've obviously got Ronaldo and Cavani for that front spot. You got Sancho and Greenwood on the right.
Mm.
You got Lingard and Rashford on the left. That's not mentioning Martial or Pogba, who also play there. You got Bruno, you've got Donny. You know, like there's a lot there.
The
There
issue
really is a
really
lot.
is the blend, isn't it? It's the blend that you're trying to find. There's no shortage of talent, there's no doubt about it, but
No,
it's finding a pattern of play. I don't want to say the United way because I don't even think that's a thing, to be honest. I think there's, it's trying to find a blend in terms of who you put in where at the right time. Are you playing counter football? Are you playing pressure, high press, whatever it is, and putting those right players in at the right time for those different things. And I often said, and we will get into it later when we're talking about the Ollie episode, you have to have a very strong manager to be capable of doing that. A manager that really, really understands football, And I just think it's so difficult for him. He's been thrust into a position there that was to try and, create a culture again there that was destroyed through Jose somewhat, and calm things down a little bit, give a few players a cuddle, get them back going and stuff like that. And in fairness to Solskjaer, he did that and he has had moments. I mean, the win over PSG was huge and stuff like that and all that set him on the way with a contract. And I just think at times, coming second last year, I know some people will say, oh, it was a COVID year that most teams are switched off, but it was a COVID year for everyone and he still came second. So you have to give him his dues on that. And then I suppose with Varane and with Sancho and Ronaldo coming in, you would think there's a little bit of quality there now coming in to add to the squad and he would push on. But it just looked, I think, between the team, between him and the coaching, and everything just fell apart. And it just came to a head on Sunday. And I said a number of times this year, you could see it in the Wolves game that there was issues. You could see it in the Newcastle game, even though you ran out winners, there was issues. If they had had a couple of decent boys up front, it would have been a different story. We said it in the Villarreal game. If Moreno had been playing, there would have been issues. You've seen it in the Atalanta game, the way you had to come back, there was issues. So there's been issues throughout the season where he's kind of been, I don't want to say getting away with it because you have to go out and win games. Like if you look at the Atalanta game, I don't class that as getting away with it because it is a comeback and that's a game is 90 minutes. It's not 45.
No, of course. And I still think we did enough in that first half to have gone in a little bit closer to Atalanta as well. Like, although we win 3-2,
probably level.
Although we win 3-2 and it's a late goal to kind of steal it, we created more chances. We were the better team on the night. It's that soft centre we have at the back, and how poor we are defensively, which is leading to this. And you can see that there's attacking talent there because the way they're able to come back into the game when they've got their backs against the wall after conceding goal, But again, with a good manager, I don't think this has happened, to be honest with you. I really, really don't, and like Sunday was very, very tough to take.
Yeah.
I know I sent you a video a little bit earlier that you might be putting into the package, and like that was walking through the tunnel outside Old Trafford after the game, and that was so raw, and it was just like it was so difficult, because you're walking out and they're hand in hand with me two little boys, my two little treasures, and I'm walking out there and I'm just like, fucking hell, I'm like, I was just a straw after, It was so difficult, but you're gonna have them points in your following of a football team, and everyone's gone through them, whether you're an Arsenal fan, whether you're a Liverpool fan, whether you're a Leeds fan, whoever you support, you're gonna go through that, and some teams have to go through a little more than others. You look at all the success that Manchester City are going through at the minute. Are you telling me they're fans who almost watched them go into League Two on that penalty shootout over Gillingham when Nicky Weaver, you know what I mean, pulled off his heroics? Like, if you'd have told them they'd be up challenging for league titles and Champions Leagues 20 years later, what would they have said to you? Yeah, all right, kid, whatever you think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, similar to what Newcastle are going to go through now, I'd say.
Something similar, I'd imagine, yeah. So it's football, it's a fans' game, but it can be tough on fans at times as well, it really can.
Yeah, I remember the first time I brought Ben over to Anfield. It was 2018. and we went over to do the viewing for the Champions League final in Kiev when we were against Real Madrid. At the time Salah got speared by Ramos and went off, and the rest is history. But I remember standing in the cop with him, and we were only watching it on big screens. It was like a cinema situation.
Yeah.
And he was in absolute tears. He was inconsolable. The tears were rolling down his face like rivers. And I remember turning around to him that night in the cop, and I was there. I shout out to Tom off the Redmen TV. He was there sitting with us as well. Great guy, Tom. Tom walked over to Ben. And he said to Ben, "Listen, kid, walk out of here with your chin up, wipe those tears away." Because he says, "You know something? You'll always have more better days than bad days." And he said, "They're only around the corner. We will come back next year," he said, "and we will win the Champions League. And we will go very close in the league. The league win is only around the corner." And he was absolutely spot on. But Ben was inconsolable. Even when we walked down out of the cop to go through the tunnels down back out into the outside of the ground. And we had a great weekend. We went and did lunch with the legends and all. I remember we were sitting down having lunch in the restaurant on Anfield. And Phil Neal was there having lunch. And they have screens in the booths, and they show all the old European games because we were there for the viewing. And it showed Phil Neal scoring the goal. I think it was against Roma, was it? I think it was, as far as I know, where he scored that penalty in the penalty shootout.
Yeah.
And Ben turned around and go, "What a man to take that penalty." I said, "You think so?" And I got him out of the booth, and I said, "Come on over here and let's have a chat with the man about it." And I walked over to Phil Neal and I said, "You wouldn't mind if I disturb you for a minute? He wants to have a chat with you about that penalty you just took 2 minutes ago there on that screen to win the European Cup." And he told Ben to sit down, and Ben was chatting away to him over the lunch, and they went over, took pictures with the European Cup and everything. And we just such a great weekend. We did the stadium tour, everything, And then to lose, not only to lose, but to lose like that. And Ben is the biggest Mo Salah fan. So to lose Mo Salah in the game when we were getting on top of the game as well was such a bitter blow,
Yeah.
And then to have to sit there and go through that, the Bale goal and everything else that happened, and carry us absolutely losing it. And it was similar to what you're talking about there. But I did say to him, he will have better days. They are around the corner. And I believe that's the same for United.
Absolutely, man. And listen, I think one of my earliest memories of being a United fan was a Coca-Cola Cup final. I'm going to say we're in about 1993. We get Andrei Kanchelskis sent off for a handball on the line, and we lose 3-1 to Aston Villa.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on the couch in my house, in my mum and dad's house, probably, mid-March, something like that. April maybe, with the duvet on me watching this game. And as a little kind of 8 or 9 year old, and I've the tears rolling down my face,
Yeah.
But if I look back now,
yeah,
at how many times I had those tears in comparison to tears of joy, or the screams of joy, or the it'll outweigh it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It'll definitely outweigh it. And those boys will see, like the older lad there. We would always try and take advantage of having the season tickets for the likes of the Champions League. So, I mean, there was a period of 3 years ago, maybe, where we played Juventus with Ronaldo. We played Barca with Messi. We played PSG with Neymar. We played all three teams in the space of 3 months. And myself and the older guy were at the trade him.
It's great.
He's going to go, when his kids are watching videos of Messi and Ronaldo, he's going to go, saw him. Saw him. Was there that day. My dad had me at that game. We met such and such a player. We did this. We did. Do you know what I mean? And that's the sort of stuff, like, they're the memories I have of my dad. And they're the memories I want my kids to have of me. They'll say, "Oh, I was a bollocks," or whatever. But if there's a little bit there and they can go, "Do you know what? He was all right, the old man, and he brought us to this game, and he brought us to that game, and did this with us, and he did that with us," We stayed over, obviously, as well. We stayed over on Sunday night. And we bumped into a friend of yours, obviously, Graham Souness. Now, there's a background story to this, which I'll tell very, very quickly. So the day of a Manchester derby about 4 or 5 years ago, it was Jose versus Pep for the first time in the Premier League. And I was coming out of this particular hotel in Manchester where I stay all the time. And I was coming out, and I was met by a man sitting in a really fancy Mercedes. Little man in a suit, permatan, the hair all slick, the whole shooting match. was going out in my United jersey, and I actually had a spare ticket that day because a mate of mine who was supposed to come up for the game, shout out to Bobby Prandeville, and let me down at the last minute because he had something going on down south in London, couldn't come. And he said, listen, you have to keep the ticket, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So your man, this fella says to me, he says, I tried to get tickets all week. He says, I couldn't get any. And I says, you're looking for a ticket, were you? He says, yeah, I'm looking for a ticket. This man in the car, the slick looking man. I says, right. I says, I actually have a ticket. And he says, you have a ticket for today? I says, yeah, I have a spare. And I told him a story about my mate Bobby. And he says, Jesus, he says, do you fancy selling it to me? And I says, yeah, no hassle, yeah, we can do that. I'm going to this game on my own. I might as well make a few pound out of it, So he says, how much do you want? So he says, 100, because I'm looking at this nice man sitting in this fancy Mercedes with his suit and stuff on. And he puts his hand into his wallet, puts his hand in his pocket, takes out a wallet. Now, there was enough money in there to choke an ass, as my dad say, right? And he puts his hand in the wallet, has a little root round, puts money in my hand. He says, it's got to be worth 2. And gives me 200 for it, right? So what I didn't know at that stage was that was Graham Souness's driver, a guy called Terry. So I gave Terry my season ticket and I met him at the ground, and at half time Terry brought me out for pints and hot dogs and pies. We did a bit of cracking. We waited after the game for Graham and stuff like that. So I'd met Graham before.
Yeah.
So fast forward to the weekend, and obviously we're in the hotel after the game. There's a nice restaurant, and I said to the lads, I'll get you some food in the restaurant and we'll bring it back to the room and stuff like that. And the lad says, yeah, grand. So I still had my United gear on, and I was chatting away to somebody, and the next minute Graham walked in, and Andrew says, Dad, look, there's Graham Souness. And I says, hey Graham, and he kind of says, hey, how you doing like this, and he was kind of looking at me. He says, is Terry with you? And he says, Terry? He says, nah, you won't get Terry today, not after that. Terry's a big Man United fan. He says, hold on, we'll try and ring him. So we're standing there. My young fella's, he'd be 14 this year. He's looking at me going, my dad's talking to Graham Souness as if these two are mates, right? Yeah. And I'm saying, yeah. I says, get Terry on the phone there, will you? So I tried to ring Terry. Terry's not answering. He says, I reminded him of the story because they actually brought me back to the hotel that day. Terry and Graham, when he was finished with Sky, brought me back, and he says, yeah, I think I remember, like this, blah, blah. So get a picture and whatever, and no water, and we're sitting at the bar having mojitos with Graham. We were waiting on the on the field and stuff like that, and same as that, he's just sitting there chatting to you like a normal Joe Soap. And of course the kids are there and they're like, Jesus, this is great, and the little guy's probably thinking, who's this outfit, but the other guy, he's thinking, this is deadly, my dad's mates with Blake and Graves. What I mean? So it was good, it was eventful. So it was a good night then, and then obviously on Monday morning we got up and we nipped back to Old Trafford, just to take another few little shots with the lads and stuff like that, just for the kind of for the scrapbook, because obviously on match day it's so busy. So we said we'd go back, and we just spent half an hour and taking a few little pictures and having a little walk around, so that the little guy could kind of get used to a bit of the history as well.
Yeah, which is very important. I always stress that with Ben. You have to understand the history to appreciate the present.
Yeah, so I'm kind of walking him through the Munich tunnel, and I'm explaining to him about Munich, and he's kind of looking at me. He's like, an airplane crash? And I says, yeah, an airplane crash, And the older lad, he's down telling him, that's why we're Man United and we will never die, and you're just thinking, this is amazing. Yeah. Me 13-year-old, this is what I got out of football. And this is what he's getting, and this is what he's even trying to pass to the next guy. And it was just brilliant, it really, really was.
It's kind of parenting. It's parenting 101, really, isn't it?
It's super, man, and even we're losing the game, we're getting thumped, and the little guy he's still like, geez, Dad, it's great in here, isn't it? It's great in here, kid. It's the business, and we did something. We were out today, and he said something, and he told me wife, he says, we're going back to Old Trafford in March for my birthday, and she says, are you? Yeah, and he says, yeah, my daddy's gonna bring me back there, and he's all ready to go, It's just you couldn't ask for any more. No, you really, really couldn't. I highly recommend it to anyone out there listening that hasn't been to a game or that wants to experience it firsthand, get tickets, get in contact with these companies. There's great companies out there putting great packages together, and there's fan clubs, and it doesn't always have to cost a fortune, and stuff like that. But get over with your friends and make memories. Get over with your kids and give them a little taste of this. Get over with your parents if you can, because they're only going to be there for so long. Yeah. And will you have that opportunity, get over and spend that bit of time with them, and it's a great thing to kind of bond over, and obviously like my guys, they're quite young, but I mean, in a couple of years, I'm going to sit there in Old Trafford and have a point with these two. Yeah,
especially when we were going through those COVID times as well. Ben would come in to me and he'd go, remember that Salzburg game we went to and the Watford game we went to and all that? We'd be talking about the games we went to, because apart from that first trip over for the Kiev final, every other game we've gone to has been unbelievable. Like it's the way we just picked them. We were over there for the AC Milan game that just went there in the Champions League. It was unbelievable. We were out the Watford game when we thumped them, I think 5-0 or something like that. We played Salzburg.
He's beat everyone 4-3.
But we were playing Salzburg. It was 4-3, I think, or something like that. Taki was playing for Salzburg. I was going to say
Minamino. That's right. And was Haaland there as well?
He might have been. Yeah, I'm not too sure. And then we were playing. We played Everton, and we knocked Everton out of the cup. And then we played Arsenal, and the Arsenal one was it ended up being 5-4 or something like that. It was crazy when we beat them on penalties. And all the AFTV guys were out the back of Anfield now, and we were buzzing off the likes of Troops and Robbie and all the boys and that. And the lads, he was just lapping it up, it was just great. He was going, we were walking out the back and he goes, there's those lads off AFTV. And I was like, go over and have a chat with them, go over and say hello to them and all. They won't bite you. Bit of crack,
As we came out of the ground on Sunday, there was a camera crew there from NBC, and they were obviously doing a bit with a couple of fans and blah, blah, blah. But we had arranged to meet my missus in the spot she dropped us off in. So I said, listen, I'll meet you back here. It's a little retail park. It's about 5-minute walks from Old Trafford, I said, meet you back at the retail park at such and such a time. So she says, yeah, that works grand. I kind of took a few minutes inside the ground after. We obviously stayed for the whole game, unlike some of the boys. They got out of Dodge a little bit earlier. But we stayed, and I told the older guy, I said, listen, don't leave till I call you. I said, because if I'm sitting inside with the little guy taking a picture or whatever, don't leave. I don't want you outside in your own type thing,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So he says, yeah, that's fine. So I actually, as it happened, I could kind of look across and nearly see where he was. So gave him the billy. I said, right, come on, let's go. Because at that stage, it was empty. But when we left the retail park we were on our way to, was actually on the other side of the Liverpool fans.
Oh, okay.
So we end up on one side of the Liverpool fans, and the retail parks on the other side of the Liverpool fans. Okay. And you've got all the police and the horses and stuff like that, the riot gear, and they're ushering the Liverpool fans through the gates of where
onto the buses,
onto the buses and stuff like that. So I took a little video while I was there as well. So I'll probably pop that over to you as well, so everybody can see it. I almost found myself singing the song they'd sang, because they all sang the same song, walking across from Old Trafford to the buses. And as I'm going down the road, it was in my head because it was a song about United. And when I got into the car and I went, Jesus Christ, what are you doing? It was just this song was so catchy, It was funny though. And there was a few it's even for the kids, obviously even now, like Ireland is so much more multicultural than it's ever been. But still, when you go to the UK, there's so many different nationalities. If you look at the picture we have there, the trophies, where myself and the two boys, we've got pictures with the treble winning trophies, the Premier League, the European Cup and the FA Cup. But the guy that was two ahead of us, he was getting his picture taken, and he actually took a flag out of his bag and he draped it's like a red, white and a blue flag out. And it was a funny little triangular flag. And I was kind of going, I don't know that flag now. I'd be pretty decent on geography. And I was like, I don't know that flag. And somebody asked him, or somebody noticed, and he was from Nepal. So it was the flag from Mount Everest.
Okay.
and here's this little guy, you know, like how many million miles away, and there he is with his United jersey on. Now, there was a little nip in the air, but your man's there in his t-shirt because he's probably thinking, this is like the tropics compared to where I am.
Absolutely, yeah. It's probably
You know?
20,000 feet up, snow-capped or whatever it is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, working on it.
I wonder, do they ever look at that? I wonder, do they ever look when the tickets get processed, how many different nationalities show up to a stadium on a given day?
I'd say it's hard to know because obviously now there's so much swapping and stuff goes on with tickets, and I would say now is probably a better time for them to find out because obviously
it's all
everything's gone. It's all gone digitally, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I know there's still a few people trying to get in on paper tickets. You can still get into Old Trafford on a paper ticket. You do, however, need identification if you're going in on a paper ticket. Whereas if you're going in on a scanned ticket,